You know that feeling when you're absolutely convinced that there's no way you could possibly be qualified for the job that you have?
And at any moment, your boss and all of your colleagues are all gonna find out, and then you just die of embarrassment?
Well, you, my friend, have imposter syndrome.
Terrible. We're sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm Brittany.
And I'm Penny, and we are the hosts of Happy Hour Podcast.
We're friends, colleagues, and podcast buddies. So if you haven't listened to our podcast, maybe you should check it out.
Yes, you should. It's really very good.
It's quite good.
Yeah. We want to talk to you about imposter syndrome because it's literally everywhere and 90% of us are dealing with it at any given time.
And Penny and I both are dealing with it all the time as well. It's something that we're constantly facing, and we think more people should be talking about it.
I'm dealing with imposter syndrome right now. We're here to let you know that imposter syndrome is not only super normal, but it's also maybe kind of a good thing.
Say what? By the end of this video, you're gonna know what imposter syndrome is, why it actually happens, and you'll have some cool, easy takeaways for how to actually deal with it when it musters itself up.
And haunts your dreams.
Do people say muster up? Is that a thing? We're gonna muster imposter syndrome. Maybe people do that, maybe they don't.
Yeah. And as you're watching, please feel free to drop any comments or questions in the comment section, but not under the table. What we're pointing to here is the comment section.
Are you new to YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I am.
She is.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, everybody, let's get into it.
So, what is imposter syndrome?
I have no idea.
Well, luckily, I'm about to tell you. So, imposter syndrome is a feeling that at any minute in a new job or an old job or in your relationship, you might get found out, that your skills aren't exactly what everybody thought they were, that everyone's out to get you, and you feel like a bit of a fraud. And it's kind of an anxiety that's very much, it's pretty stressful.
It's very stressful.
It's actually not directly correlated to your experience either. So you can be super experienced and still suffer from imposter syndrome. It tends to be more closely correlated with perfectionism. So if you're a really high achiever, if you have high standards for your performance, then that's when you tend to get hit hardest, when you start to worry about people thinking that you've cheated your way into your job or your position.
That's right. That's why it affects us a lot, because we're extremely high achievers and very much perfectionists.
And huge professionals.
And big time professionals, baby. So what actually triggers imposter syndrome? I think this is really interesting and important to figure out because it helps you sort of deal with the feelings when you know where they're coming from. Much easier to deal with, much easier to manage.
Mm-hmm.
So imposter syndrome actually is usually spurred on by any sort of new experience or uncharted territory, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anytime you get maybe a promotion at work, if you're actually jumping into a new job, maybe you're switching careers, these are the perfect times for imposter syndrome just to creep in there and just get you.
So here's what imposter syndrome is actually not. It's not only related to people who have a lot of anxiety in general. So if you tend to be really anxious, that doesn't mean you'll definitely get imposter syndrome. It's not related to performance. So even if you're doing really well, you might feel imposter syndrome. It's not something you only get in the early stages of your career. And it's not a sign that you're not ready, which is a lot of double negatives, but basically it means that you could be ready and you're still getting imposter syndrome, which is just ridiculous.
See, I think that's a really important thing to remember because whenever I experience imposter syndrome, I'm always like, that's the first thing that comes up is like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm not ready for this. And that's probably not the case.
It's also kind of a good thing, but we'll come to that
We're
later.
gonna get to that later.
Sorry,
Mom.
spoiler alert.
Okay, so now you know what imposter syndrome is and you know why you feel like an imposter. Super important, both things. And if you haven't learned anything new yet, keep watching because there's lots more to come.
That's true. But we can do better.
We can do better, I promise. Also, we wrote a very cool article that's linked in the description all about the myths behind imposter syndrome. So if you want to get more of a deep dive, definitely check out that article below. So why is imposter syndrome actually a good thing?
Sounds unlikely, doesn't it?
It sounds a little crazy. But here's the thing, having imposter syndrome means a few different things. It means that you're self-aware, that you're actually probably in a high growth state, so you're about to grow as a person into something strange maybe. And it also means that you're probably a high achiever.
And have really high standards for yourself.
Which is, also...
It's always a good thing.
It's good, but it's also bad.
So it's good but painful.
It's
like
good but
all
painful.
Hard things.
That's it.
So to start off, having good self-awareness is super key to growth and learning. So if you can't really get a good reflection or a good idea about where you are currently, then that typically means that it makes it very hard to move forward. If you are self-aware, it means that you're super capable of moving forward and learning the skills that you need to grow and adapt to your new role.
Wow! The second reason why having imposter syndrome is actually a good thing is that you're at a high growth stage in your life. So instead of focusing on that feeling where you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, better to actually focus on the fact that you're about to learn a ton. Good for you! It's obviously no coincidence that people feel like imposters when they get a new job, when they get a promotion, or when they're switching careers, right? So just embrace it and just go get them.
And finally, having imposter syndrome can often mean that you have very high standards and potentially you're even a high achiever. So give yourself a little pat on the back, maybe give yourself a little break, have a Kit Kat, have a coffee. Just realize that your standards are high and not everyone's standards are gonna be that high. So at the end of the day, you're probably gonna be doing even better than everyone else.
Awesome!
Not that it's a competition.
It's not a competition.
Obviously.
But if it were,
you might win.
You know what I mean? So knowing that imposter syndrome can be a good thing is all well and good, except for you don't want to feel like an imposter anymore, and we totally get that. So in the next section, we're going to give you some tangible tips, tools, things you can actually do when you're feeling like that. But before we get to that, make sure if you have any questions about imposter syndrome, anything that came up where you were like, oh yeah, tell us your story, pop it in the old comments. We will actually respond to you.
Yeah. We will.
And if you haven't yet subscribed to the Career Foundry YouTube channel,
what are you doing with your life?
Honestly, get on it.
It's really good.
It's a great channel.
And now that we've told you what imposter syndrome is and why it might be a good thing, we're actually going to tell you how to tackle it head on, give you some super tangible tips, tricks, techniques, and tools to tackle it, the 5 Ts. And you can use these all right away. So the minute you finish watching these videos, you can put these little tactics into place so that you can stop battling imposter syndrome and start feeling like the champ you are.
Bit of confidence, right? All right, let's get into it. Tip number 1, keep track of your accomplishments. This is something that Penny and I both do. We keep a little folder on our laptop and we call it the Smile File. Very adorable. But this is basically where we keep all the things that we're proud of. A nice email that you got, some really great feedback, a project that you worked on that was super successful. Keep them aside so anytime that you're feeling like an imposter, like you don't belong, you can open that up and realize, hey, I'm doing all right.
Done tootin'.
And also in your Smile File, here's another extra pro tip. Look through your accomplishments on a regular basis and think to yourself, well, did I actually achieve this because of my skills and abilities, or was it luck? Because more often than not, it's not usually about luck. And that can often be how we feel with it when we're feeling like imposters. We think, oh, we just got lucky to land the job. We just got lucky to land the promotion. We don't deserve it. But you do deserve it.
Number 2. I was waiting for you to do this for some reason.
Sorry, I leaned in.
Number 2, understand what it actually means to be good at your job. So number 1, we have to know that if you are completely qualified for your job, you have all the skills, all the expertise, and all the qualifications, that actually means that you're overqualified. And that will mean a nightmare for the hiring manager because soon you'll want a promotion and you'll want a pay rise, and you might just be a bit too much for what they're looking for.
A bit much. It's a bit much.
Just a little much. So instead, just know that if you have 50% of the skills, qualifications, and experience for the job, then you probably are qualified enough. You can learn a lot on the job, and if you get a lot of feedback from your boss about how you're going on a day-to-day basis, then that will help to guide you in your growth.
Cheers to feedback. Number 3. Don't forget to create and use your support network, right? Isolating yourself with your thoughts of feeling like you're an imposter and that you don't deserve this job that you have is only going to make things worse. Surprise, surprise, right? Obviously. So lean on your colleagues and your friends, right? Talk about how you're feeling, because once you hear from other people that they're also feeling similar to you, you'll realize you're not alone. And that's a really nice feeling.
Yeah. They might also give you a little positive feedback and say, oh gosh, I never would have imagined that you were feeling this way because you're doing so great.
Absolutely.
Who would have thunk it?
Right?
Yeah. Number 4, remind yourself that no one knows what they're doing all the time. Once you get into the professional world, you'll realize that there are so many people kind of blagging and fudging their way through. So flip your focus to, I'm not good enough, to understanding what it is that you can bring to any given situation.
This is really, really excellent advice. I find myself often in situations where I'm running, a training or a workshop where I'm expected to teach people something. And very, very often, actually pretty much every time, there are people in the room who are more experienced than I am. So what I try to focus on is like one tangible thing that I know I can give them that will be maybe surprising or helpful, instead of focusing on the fact that, yikes, I'm definitely not qualified to be giving this presentation today.
And number 5, finally, set realistic expectations for what you'd like the outcome to be. So if you're going into a really unfamiliar situation, for example, you're giving a pitch or a presentation, or you're joining a meeting and you're expected to speak up, or you're doing a project or assignment and you're really nervous about it because it's in very much the deep end. You're not really sure if you can do it and you've never done something like this before, then write down what you think a realistic outcome could be. So for example, if you go into a meeting with a whole bunch of senior people, you could say something like, my goal for this meeting is to say one smart thing and that's it. This just helps to get yourself on the same page as your actual progress. So instead of trying to think about who you want to be in the future, you're thinking about who you are now and how you can push yourself to grow on that next step of your journey.
So to recap extremely quickly, your 5 tips on dealing with imposter syndrome. 1, keep track of your accomplishments.
2, understand what it means to do a good job.
3, I can't remember. 3, create a support network to lean on.
And 4, remind yourself that no one knows what they're doing all the time.
And 5, set realistic expectations for yourself. So there you have it. You have 5 concrete ways you can deal with imposter syndrome. Let us know which one you like the best in the comments.
Yeah, do it.
Tell us, we can chat about it.
And if you think we're imposters, you're probably right.
Absolutely right, it's true.
Thank you for spending so much time with us, literally so many minutes. We can't believe you're still here.
What are you doing here?
This is such an important topic, so we'd love it if you'd share your stories in the comments and give a little like to the video perhaps.
That would make us feel good.
Yeah, and also just talk about imposter syndrome to your friends and family and dog.
And dog. A dog can be quite helpful. Yeah, absolutely.
Unconditional love.
If you want to read more about imposter syndrome, don't forget that we have this really cool article linked in the description all about the myths behind imposter syndrome, and it actually has some super tangible ways and a full-blown exercise that you can do when you're feeling a little bit like an imposter.
I'm exercising.
That was her exercise. I was like, what is she doing? She's exercising. That's good.
And if you're thinking of doing a career change or you're kind of already in the process, Career Foundry actually has an amazing YouTube channel with loads of videos, loads of resources on topics like design, web development, career development, imposter syndrome, dogs, cats, butterflies, birds.
So subscribe. What are you doing?
Well, exactly.
What are you doing? You don't want to miss out on that. Thank you so much for watching, everybody.
Thank you.
We hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And we hope that this really helped you, just feel a little bit more confident, a little less like an imposter. We're really looking forward to having a conversation with you in the comments. Bye, everybody. Bye.
And I'm Penny, and we are the hosts of...
No, sorry. Because other way. Like, you say I'm Penny, and then I go, and I'm Brittany.
Okay, great.
Isn't that what we do?
Job that you're having.
We're... Perfect. Yeah, they can cut there. Great.
Thank you so much. Wasn't prepared for you to jangle that.